Good morning friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In the last video, I have discussed all the object-oriented programming features such as class, object, encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism. I hope you have watched that video. If you did not watch that video and if you don't know those concepts, I request you to go back and watch that video and come back to this video. In this video, I want to discuss what is a class, what is an object, how can you define class, and how can you create an object for the class. Using that object, how can you access the variables and methods which are defined in a class. So all these concepts I will discuss in detail for you. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. Just let me give an overview about a class and object. Then we will go for how to define a class and all the things. First, let me define what is a class. Class provides a definition of an object. Class provides definition of an object. So how an object should look, all these things the class will provide. And class is imaginary. Class is an imaginary, meaning is that once you define a class, memory will not be allocated. That is the one important point you should remember. Maybe they can ask you in interview, will the memory will be allocated once you define a class? No. If you create an object for the class, for that object memory will be allocated. Okay, and even I can say class is a collection of objects. Class is a collection of objects. See, these are the things people will say about the class. So class provides the definition of an object, how the object should look, all these things. And class is an imaginary, memory will not be allocated. Class is a collection of objects. And now let me talk about object. Object is an instance. It is an instance of a class. Suppose if I say Acer laptop, okay, so I will say the laptop. Laptop is the class. Then Acer laptop, a Dell laptop, HP laptop, Lenovo laptop are the objects because they are the real entity. But whereas the laptop is a class, it is an imaginary. This is the way laptop should look. That is what you are defining. A laptop should have the screen, it should have the keyboard, okay, it should have the charging, it should have the main memory, it should have the secondary memory. All these things you are defining. Okay, so in a class provides a definition of an object, whereas an object is an instance of a class, and even you can say it is the real entity. You can touch and feel. The object is the touch and feel one, whereas the class is imaginary. So once you create an object for a class, then only memory will be allocated. I hope you have understood what is a class and what is an object and how they are interrelated. Now let me discuss the syntax of creating a class and creating an object. You can define a class using the keyword called class, where everything is in lowercase. Class is a one keyword which is useful for you to define a class. Class name. Okay, class name, and then you will open the curly braces and you will close the curly braces. In the curly braces, you can provide the variables and methods. As I said, class is a collection of variables and methods. So this is what the encapsulation is provided. In procedure-oriented programming language, you will leave the variables and methods everywhere. Am I right? There is no boundary for them. But in the object-oriented programming language, you will keep them in a box. That is what the class. So there is a protection. Okay. Now let me create with a simple example. I have class keyword, and remember one thing, class name always should start with capital letter C. Suppose let's take that. If I want to write class name as array example, okay, I want to write it as array example. Now, how many words are there here? Two words are there. One is array is a one word, example is another word. then what is the way you can give the name is that you can give like this also, this is fine, but the standard way is that take the first letter in each word, make it capital, make it capital. So if you want to give array example as the class name, then better write the class name like this. If you have a collection of words, each word, the starting one should be in capital letter. Suppose here I have only single word called student. So the first letter, which is S, I made it as capital. So this is what we'll call it as name convention. Okay, this is the standard way you can go. If you does not write it, there is no issue. The error will not come. But this is the standard way. You should follow the standard procedure. Okay. Now, let me have some variables and methods inside the class called student. Okay, I will open the curly braces. Now, student will have the student name and student ID. So, student ID, so I will take int because roll number will be in ID. So, I will say student ID. So, one variable I have created. And student name is a string. So, I need to use string where S is capital letter. Remember one thing. Okay, S is capital letter, and I'm making a variable called student name. Okay, so these are the two variables, and what kind of variables they are I will discuss with you. Okay, so these two are the variables because we said in a class we can have the variables and the methods. Now let me have a method called what the student will do. The student will study and the student will play the games. Am I right? These are the two things student will do it normally because every human will play the games. Okay, for the fitness. Even the student is also a human. Okay, so void is a keyword. See, method is not a new name. If you know what is a function, then you can easily say the method because in a class, if you keep a function, then we are calling it as a method. If you're keeping outside, say in a C programming language or C++, you can define a function outside also. But a class is a pure object-oriented programming language. Everything you need to write in the class. So that's why we will not use the word called function. We will use the word only method. So the difference between a function and method is if you're keeping the function inside the class, then it will be called as method. If you're keeping outside, then it is a function. Is it clear? So void, okay, I want to have the method name or the function name is called studying. Now look at here. Even method name, you should follow one naming convention. What it is, suppose let's take that you have two words. We'll take this example, array example. Okay, array example. See how many words are there? Two words are there. One is array and example. When it comes to the class name, we have written that capital A, R-R-A-Y, capital E, X-A-M-P-L-E. So in for a class name, what you have done for a class name, let me write it as shortcut CN. Each word, the first character should be an uppercase. But for a method name, what is the strategy you will follow is the first word, first character will be in lowercase. From the remaining words, each time the first character for each word, the first character should be in uppercase. Suppose let's take that you have three words. Let's take that word 1, word 2, word 3. If it is a method name, then small word 1, then you will have capital W, word 2, again capital W, word 3. So, if you have multiple words, the first word, first character will be in lowercase. For the remaining words, first character will be in uppercase. But for a class name, every word, the first character should be in uppercase. So this is what we'll call it as naming convention. Okay, the standard way. So I have only one word called studying. So that's why I have given this S as a lowercase. Okay, suppose I want to write here system.out.println yes name is studying. Okay, yes, name is studying. Okay, let me close this one. So the studying is the method name, and void it defines the return type. If you use the void, then meaning is that this function or this method does not return any value. If you provide the return type as int, the meaning is that the method will return an integer value. If you provide float, then the meaning is that this method returns a float value. See, here I am not returning anything. I did not use the keyword called return, so this function or the method does not return any value. Similarly, let me have another method called playing, okay, where p is also lowercase, and I am writing system dot where s should be capital letter. By this time you know how to use the system dot out dot println. Okay, I will write s name is playing. Okay, let me close the playing method and let me close the class. So this is the way you can define a class. So what is the procedure? Class name, and then open the curly braces and write the curly braces. In this one you can have the variables and methods. It's not always compulsory that you should have the variables. Okay, you should not have only methods. See, you can have the methods, or you can have the variables, or you can have only variables, you can have only methods. That is not a problem. Is it clear? So what I say, it is a class, it is a collection of variables and methods. Now, as I said earlier, class is imaginary. The memory will not be allocated. Okay, so you need to create an object for this class. How can you create an object for this class, and how can you access the variables using the object? All these things I will discuss for you. Now, if you want to create an object for this class, first you need to have the driver class. The driver class is the main class. See, till now in the Java programs, whatever we have written the class name, and then we have written the public static void main. And whatever the class name we are using in the public static void main, that should be the file name. Am I right? Suppose if the class name is array, then the file name should be array.java. But here we have one class, but you should have the driver class. That is what we'll call it as a starting. From there, the what you call the program execution will start. So let me write the driver class. What I will do is that I will take in class name as object, okay, capital O, object example, or let me write it as ex. So what I have done, the first two words are the ex and object. So O I made it as capital letter, E I made it as a capital letter. And then what I will do is that I will write public static void main, then you will have argument. So I will have string args. I can write it as a also. The name of the array is not an important. Okay, because of the name space issue, I have simply written as a. Now this class we will call it as a driver class. From there the program execution will start. So if you are saving this program, what is the way you will save? You will save it as capital O object ex.java, where j should be lowercase. Okay, is it clear? So now I want to create an object for the particular class. The syntax for creating an object is class name, object name, let me write it as obn because of the space issue. Then you will have new is the keyword, which will be useful for you to allocate the memory, because for an object only memory will be allocated. For the class, memory will not be allocated because the object is the real entity, whereas the class is imaginary. So class name, object name is equal to new class name, and then you will have the braces and you close it. Okay, so this is a syntax or a generalized syntax of creating an object for a particular class. Now what I will do is that I will create an object for the class called student. So what I will write? I will write student. Okay, Object name, I will write it as S1. Okay, S1 is equal to new student. Okay, and I will close it. Similarly, I can create another object. So the same procedure, student S2 is equal to new, okay, new student. Okay, so these are the two objects I have created. Okay, now if I want to access the variables and methods, see, this is the two variables and these are the two methods. Once you create an object called s1, okay, then s1 will have the variables called sid and the sname and the methods such as studying and playing. Okay, is it clear? Studying and playing are the two methods and sid and sname are the variables. Similarly, for the S2 also a memory will be allocated and it also have the variables called SID, SName and methods called studying and playing. So every object for a class will have the variables and methods. Okay, so that's why we will call these variables and methods as called as instance variables and instance methods. So they are related to an object. So instance variables, okay, and similarly I can call it as instance method. Okay, instance variable, instance method. Okay, so for each object you will have the an address, so that one you can display using the hash code method. So now let me erase this one and continue teaching the program where we have left. So now what I will do, I will have the s1 dot. So if you want to access the variables or methods of a particular class using the object, then you need to use the dot operator. Now let me write it as small s1 only because I have written s1. So s1 dot sid is equal to 10. So for the student s1, I am giving the roll number as 10, and for the student s1, see again it is a lowercase. Okay, s1 dot sname is equal to, what I will do, I will write Jagadish. Okay, I will write Jagadish. Then I can call the instance method called studying using the object called s1. So if I write s1 dot studying and s1 dot playing, then what will be the output will be displayed. See, for the s1 this value is 10. For the s1 sname is Jagadish. So when you call the methods using the object s1, the name is Jagadish. Am I right? So it will display the output as Jagadish is studying. Similarly, when you call the method called playing using the object s1, as the sname is Jagadish, so it will display as Jagadish is playing. Similarly, if I write, okay, let me write here after this one, s2 dot sid is equal to 20. s2 dot sname is equal to Parnika. Then look at here. Look at here. What is happening? For the S1 object, sname is Jagadish. For the S2 object, student name is Parnika. So you have two memories. That is why I am calling them as a instance variables and instance method. Similarly, if you call the method called studying using the object s2, then it will display the output as Parnika is studying. Similarly, if you call the method called playing using the object called s2, then it will display the output as Parnika is playing. Okay, now let me close the main function and then let me close the class. So this is the way you can define a class and create the objects. First you can write this one, then you can write this one. So for better understanding, let me execute this program in the desktop and show the output for you all. Now let me have a class called student,
And inside the class I am defining two instance variable called sid and then sname, which is a string data type. So these sid and sname, we will call them as instance variables. Okay, now let me have two methods called studying and display, or studying and playing. Okay, so what here I will do is that system.out.println, I will write yes name is studying. Okay, yes name is studying. Let me end with a semicolon and end the method. Similarly, I will have another method called playing. Okay, then let me write here called system.out.println yes name, okay, concatenation is playing. Okay, and let me end with a semicolon and let me close it. So these two methods are called as instance methods. Okay, now let me close the class called student, and now let me have the main class. Class name should be matching with the program name. We have saved this program as object example.java, so the main class or the driver class should have the same name. And here let me write public static void main, and let me write string aux. Okay, string aux, and ends with, starts with the curly braces. Okay, you should not have end with a semicolon. Okay, now let me create an object, because you know that class is an imaginary. Memory will not be allocated unless until you create an object for the class. So what is the syntax for creating an object? Class name. For which class you want to create an object? For the class called student. So you need to write student s1. S1 is the object name, new class name. Okay, so what is this one? This is creating an object called es1 for class student. Okay, is it clear? Similarly, let me create another object called s2 for the same class called student. Okay, let me end with semicolon. Now what I will do, I will give some values to this instance variables, like s1 dot sid is equal to, let me take the roll number as 1, s1 dot sname is equal to, let me take Jagdish. Okay, so you have initialized or you have assigned instance variables called sid and sname as 1 and 2. Now if you call the methods using the object called s1 called studying, okay, and similarly if you call the method called playing using the object s1, then you will get the output as Jagdish is studying, Jagdish is playing. Okay, what I will do, I will need to close the main method and I will close the class. Now let me save the program and open the command prompt, and what I will do, I need to go to the Java programs which is there in the desktop. So I will write cd desktop and then cd Java programs. Okay, and now there is a program called, what is the class name we have given? Object example. So the file name I would have saved it as object example.java. So I want to compile that one. So Java C object example.java. There are no errors. Now let me run it. Object example. So you need to give a command called Java file name or the program name. Okay, so it will run the program. See, you got the output as Jagdish is studying, Jagdish is playing. Okay, now what I will do is I will create one more object. Already we have created s2. For that s2 I will assign the sid is 2 and s dot s name I will write it as Parnika tutorials. Okay, or let me write Parnika, my daughter name I will give here. So what I need to do, I need to call the methods called studying. Okay, studying, and then I need to call the method called playing. Now with which object you are calling them? With an object called s2. So SID is having 2 and S name is Parnika. So now it will display the output as Parnika is studying, Parnika is playing, because you know that for each object memory will be allocated separately. Okay, now what I will do, I will save the program and let me go to the command prompt. Let me clear the screen and compile the program again, because you have done the modifications. Okay, there are no errors. Now let me run the program. Okay, Java object example. See, I got the output as Jagadish is studying, Jagadish is playing, Parnika is studying, Parnika is playing. So this is the way you will get the output. I hope you have understood this concept. If you still have any doubts related to this concept, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.